The 6 a.m. text that ruined my Christmas started with "so sorry, but," because apparently that's how my own daughter thinks appropriate notice works. My name is Savannah Clark, I'm 64 years old, and I'm sitting alone on Christmas morning staring at a pile of wrapped presents for grandchildren who are currently 3 states away, posting Instagram stories from a luxury ski resort. Because nothing says "Merry Christmas, Mom" like a last-minute cancellation via text message before dawn. So sorry, but Brian's parents surprised us with a ski trip. The kids are so excited and we leave in an hour. I know we promised to come, but this is such an amazing opportunity. Next year for sure. Love you. Next year. Right. I've heard that song before. I set my phone down next to the stack of carefully wrapped gifts I'd been planning to watch my grandchildren open. 3 years of next year for sure, and I'm still buying presents for kids who spend every major holiday with their other grandparents, the ones with the big house and the pool and the endless checkbook. And here's the kicker. Those same grandparents who can afford spontaneous ski trips, they're the ones who preach about earning your way and not creating dependency. Yet somehow, $800 disappears from my teacher's pension every single month to keep my daughter's family in their house. Let me paint you this picture. 3 years ago, my daughter called me sobbing. Her husband had lost his construction job and they were facing foreclosure. "Mom, I don't know what to do. We're going to lose everything. The kids will have to change schools." So naturally, being the concerned mother that I am, I liquidated part of my retirement savings and set up automatic payments directly to their mortgage company. Temporary help, I told myself, just until they got back on their feet. That was 36 payments ago. My phone buzzes with notifications, because apparently my daughter's family is very active on social media this Christmas morning. I open Instagram against my better judgment, and there they are, all matching in designer snow gear that probably costs more than my monthly grocery budget. My son-in-law's parents are front and center in every photo, beaming like they're the stars of their own holiday special. The restaurant photos are what really get me. Some fancy ski lodge place where the appetizers probably cost what I spend on dinner for a week. Everyone's raising champagne glasses and looking like they're living their best life. And there, in the comments under the group shot, my son-in-law's mother has written, "So blessed to treat our babies to a real family Christmas." A real family Christmas. I've been calling my daughter 6 times a week trying to maintain some connection. Twice about Christmas plans that kept getting more vague. Once about Thanksgiving that got canceled for family drama on their end, meaning his parents didn't want to share. Once about my grandson's school play that I missed because they forgot to tell me the date changed. Once to discuss her complaints about their budget, which always end with her saying they're trying to cut back, while I'm looking at photos of new electronics and shopping trips, and once just to check in because she sounded exhausted and stressed. Most of those calls went straight to voicemail. But here's what really burns me up. Every December for 3 years, I've gotten these apologetic texts about how they have to split time between families and promises about next year. Meanwhile, his parents get every single holiday. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, 4th of July, birthdays, you name it, they're there. Because they have the bigger house and the better amenities and apparently the more appealing family dynamic. I think about the cruise I canceled last spring. The retirement trip to Alaska that my late husband and I had planned for decades. I'd already put down the deposit when my daughter called crying about their budget again, so I canceled it and used that money to catch up their property taxes instead. I think about my roof that's been leaking for 8 months. Every time it rains, I put out buckets and think about calling a contractor. Then I remember that $800 a month, and I grab more buckets instead. I think about the conversation I had with my neighbor last week when she mentioned her daughter calling her every Sunday. Every Sunday. I couldn't remember the last time my daughter called me first about anything other than money. My banking app is still open on my phone. I stare at the scheduled payment for December 26th, tomorrow's automatic withdrawal. $800 that will leave my account like clockwork, just like it has every month for 3 years. Money that could have fixed my roof, funded my cruise, helped me actually enjoy the retirement I worked 37 years to earn. Then I scroll back to those ski photos, the matching outfits, the expensive restaurant, the champagne glasses, the comment about real family Christmas. My daughter looking healthy and tan and happy, surrounded by people who can afford to treat her to the experiences I never could. And something inside me just snaps. I navigate to the automatic payment screen. My finger hovers over the cancel button. 3 years of putting their needs first while getting pushed further and further down their priority list. 3 years of being the backup plan, the safety net, the grandmother they remember when they need something, but forget when it's time to celebrate. I click cancel. The screen asks if I'm sure. Am I sure? I think about my grandson's last birthday party, which I learned about through Facebook photos posted after the fact. I think about the vacation photos from their trip to Disney World last summer, a trip they somehow managed while claiming they couldn't afford basic expenses. I think about being 64 years, old and living like I'm broke while subsidizing people who treat me like an obligation. I confirm the cancellation. Then I do something I haven't done in 3 years. I open a new browser tab and search for cruise deals. Alaska cruises, specifically. January departures, because apparently that's when I'm available now, that I don't have to coordinate around other people's schedules. I find exactly what I'm looking for. 7 days through the Inside Passage, departing January 15th. The same itinerary my husband and I had bookmarked on our dream board for 15 years before he died. The price is exactly what I've been sending to the mortgage company for the past 2 months. I create an account, enter my information, select my cabin. My hands are shaking as I type in my credit card number. This feels rebellious and terrifying, and absolutely necessary all at once. The confirmation screen loads. My cruise is booked, my calendar is marked, and for the first time in 3 years, I have something to look forward to that's entirely mine. I sit back in my chair and look at those unopened Christmas presents again. Next year, I think, maybe I'll spend the money on myself instead. Maybe I'll send postcards from whatever adventure I'm on, while my daughter's family is busy with their real family Christmas somewhere else. My hands are still shaking as I click confirm on the final booking details, but they're not shaking from fear anymore. They're shaking from pure, liberating rage. 3 days later, I'm driving 4 hours with a car full of wrapped Christmas presents because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. The GPS says I'll arrive at Michelle's house at 2:30 p.m. Perfect timing to interrupt whatever post-vacation routine they've settled into. My hands grip the steering wheel tighter than necessary, and I keep glancing at the carefully wrapped gifts in my back seat. 2 weeks of shopping, wrapping, planning, all for a Christmas morning that never happened. But I'm not backing down. If they think a last-minute text cancellation means they get to skip Christmas entirely, they're about to learn otherwise. The house comes into view and I can see their minivan in the driveway. New luggage stacked on the porch, expensive ski equipment leaning against the garage, evidence of their spontaneous family vacation, courtesy of Brian's parents. I grab the presents and march up to the front door. No point in pretending this is a social call. Michelle answers on the second knock, and I can immediately see the ski trip tan on her face and arms. But underneath that healthy glow, she looks pale, almost gray, and she's yawning before she even finishes saying hello. Mom, what are you doing here? Delivering Christmas presents? Remember Christmas? That holiday we used to celebrate together? She winces. Come in. We just got back this morning, and I'm still exhausted. I follow her into the living room, and the exhaustion is obvious. She keeps yawning, and when I mention grabbing coffee to catch up, she grimaces slightly and shakes her head. No thanks, I'm trying to cut back on caffeine. Since when? Michelle lives on coffee, but I don't push it. I've got bigger battles to fight. Look, Mom, I know you're hurt about Christmas, but we have to split time between families. It's not personal. Her voice wavers when she says it, and she won't meet my eyes. But before I can respond, Brian emerges from the kitchen with that easy smile that never quite reaches his eyes anymore. Savannah, great to see you. Hey, guess what? We just booked Easter at my parents' lake house, too. The kids are already talking about it. And there it is. Another holiday claimed by his family while I'm supposed to smile and understand. Easter, too? I ask. That's convenient. Brian's smile sharpens. My parents don't make everything so complicated. They just want everyone to have a good time. What exactly do you mean by complicated? The temperature in the room shifts. His voice develops an edge I've heard before. They give without expecting constant updates or making people feel guilty about every decision. They don't turn generosity into obligation. There's something else in his tone, though. Uncertainty, like he's reciting something he's been told rather than something he believes. But before I can process that, Michelle jumps in. He's right, Mom. You call 6 times a week and you always sound worried or disappointed about our spending, our parenting, our priorities. Every conversation feels like being questioned. She looks uncomfortable saying it, unconsciously resting her hand on her lower stomach in what looks like a protective gesture, but the words still hit like slaps. I call because I care about you, because I want to be part of your lives. It doesn't feel like caring, Michelle says, and her voice cracks. It feels like control. That's when my own voice sharpens. Speaking of control, are his parents contributing $800 a month to your mortgage? The temperature doesn't just drop, it plummets. Brian's face hardens, his casual demeanor vanishing completely. When he speaks, his voice is coldly controlled, but there's something underneath it. Something tense. This is exactly what I mean. You use money like a weapon. Bring it up whenever you don't get your way. Make us feel like we owe you our whole lives. His jaw tenses when he mentions money, and I catch something else, almost like he's defending himself against an accusation I haven't made. My parents have always said people should ultimately stand on their own. They don't create dependency. Michelle adds quietly, "You've always been like this, Mom. Even before the money. Criticizing my apartment, my job, my husband. Making me feel like nothing I did was good enough." There are tears forming in her eyes as she speaks, and her voice lacks conviction, like she's saying words someone else taught her. "I was trying to help," I protest. "It doesn't feel like help." Michelle's voice cracks. "It feels like control." But Brian cuts in with calculated precision, and now I can hear the rehearsed quality in his words. My parents give freely without strings attached. They paid for the ski trip, bought the kids' bikes, never once mentioned it afterward. His voice catches slightly. Real independence means not relying on family money for basic needs. Then his tone turns cruel. "Your help doesn't entitle you to run our lives or guilt trip us about holidays." That's when I really start looking around. The new electronics in the living room, a massive TV that wasn't there at Thanksgiving, designer luggage by the door with tags still attached. Michelle's wearing clothes I don't recognize, expensive-looking pieces that probably cost more than I spend on groceries in a month. How exactly can you afford luxury ski vacations if you can't make mortgage payments? Michelle flushes red. That's none of your business. His parents' gifts are different from bill money. She seems torn between defending her husband and protecting me, but the words still sting. Different how? Brian steps closer, and his voice takes on that measured cruelty I've heard before. But now there's something else underneath. Desperation he's trying to hide. Maybe if you had a fuller life of your own, you wouldn't obsess over ours. The words hit like a physical blow. This from someone who's been living off my teacher's pension for 3 years while I eat ramen and live with buckets catching rainwater. I look at Michelle, waiting for her to defend me, to say something, anything. She doesn't. I set the wrapped presents on their expensive coffee table and walk toward the door without another word. "Mom, wait." But I'm already outside, already getting in my car, already driving away. As I navigate their neighborhood with its perfect lawns and 2-car garages, the neighborhood my money has been keeping them in, their accusations echo in my mind. Using money as a weapon, making everything complicated, obsessing over their lives. But underneath their words, I heard something else. The certainty that I've been subsidizing people who see me as an obligation rather than family. And for the first time in 3 years, that certainty doesn't hurt. It just makes me angry. 6 weeks of blissful silence, and then my phone rings at 8:30 a.m. on a Tuesday with that particular ringtone that used to make me smile. Now it just makes my stomach clench because Michelle only calls when something's wrong. "Mom?" Her voice is high and shaky the way it used to sound when she was 7 and had broken something valuable. "The mortgage company just called and they're saying there's some kind of processing error with our payments, and I don't understand what they're talking about and they want us to call them back immediately." I set down my coffee and lean back in my kitchen chair. Through the window, I can see my neighbor walking his dog, living his normal Tuesday morning life while I'm about to detonate my daughter's world. "There's no error, sweetheart." The silence stretches so long, I wonder if the call dropped. Then Michelle's voice comes back, smaller now. "What do you mean there's no error?" "I stopped the automatic payments on Christmas Day." Another silence, longer this time. When she speaks again, her voice has changed completely. "You what?" "I canceled the mortgage payments. All of them. Permanently." The sound that comes through the phone isn't quite a gasp and isn't quite a sob. It's the sound of someone's world shifting underneath them. "Mom, you can't just stop paying our mortgage. We'll lose the house. The kids will have to change schools. We'll be homeless. How could you do this to us?" Her voice is rising with each word, and I can hear the panic taking over. But underneath it, there's something else. Something that sounds like she's been expecting this conversation for months and just hoping it wouldn't come. "I told you at Christmas that I was tired of being treated like an obligation. You chose your ski vacation over spending Christmas with me. Again. That was one day. One holiday. You're destroying our entire lives because your feelings got hurt." And there it is. My feelings got hurt. Like I'm some oversensitive old woman who can't handle being disappointed, instead of someone who's been systematically excluded from her own family for 3 years while bankrolling their lifestyle. Put Brian on the phone. "What?" "No, Mom. We need to talk about this." "Put your husband on the phone, Michelle." I hear muffled voices, then footsteps, Then Brian's voice comes through with that same calculated calm he used when he called me toxic 6 weeks ago. But there's something different now, something tighter. Savannah, I hear you're having some kind of tantrum about money again. I hear you're having some kind of financial crisis, again. His laugh is sharp and humorless. You know what this proves? Everything I've said about you using money to manipulate us. The second you don't get your way, you threaten our stability, our children's homes. That's what toxic people do. But his voice isn't quite as steady as it was 6 weeks ago. There's a tremor in it, just barely noticeable. You're right, Brian. I am manipulating you. I'm manipulating you into figuring out how to pay your own bills. You're being vindictive. You're choosing your hurt feelings over your own grandchildren's welfare. What kind of grandmother puts kids on the street because she didn't get her way about one holiday? The kind who's tired of being treated like an ATM while other grandparents get treated like family. The silence on the other end tells me he knows exactly what I mean. If you don't fix this immediately, you'll never see those grandchildren again. I'll make sure of it. And there's the threat I've been waiting for. The one that used to terrify me into compliance. But something's changed in these 6 weeks of quiet mornings and roof repairs and not checking my bank balance with dread. That's your choice to make. But since you're cutting me off anyway, maybe you should ask your parents for help. They have the resources and they clearly take priority. My parents aren't enablers. They don't create dependency. His voice cracks slightly on the word dependency, and I can hear something desperate underneath his control. They offered to help for 2 months. 2 months, Savannah. Because they believe people should learn to stand on their own instead of... He trails off, but I know what he was going to say. Instead of living off other people's retirement funds for 3 years. Instead of what, Brian? Instead of depending on family handouts long term? His voice is getting tighter. They're disappointed in how long this has gone on. They think we should have figured this out by now. So even his own parents think $800 a month for 3 years is excessive? Interesting. I can hear Michelle crying in the background now, and Brian's voice turns cold again, though I can hear him fighting to maintain that control. You're going to regret this. You're choosing your hurt feelings over your own grandchildren's home. When they're confused and scared about moving, when Michelle is stressed and crying every day, you remember that you chose this. I'm not choosing anything. I'm just not preventing the consequences of your choices anymore. The line goes quiet except for Michelle's muffled sobs. When Brian speaks again, his voice has that dangerous calm that means he's about to say something meant to hurt. You know what? You've proved everything I said about you. You're a bitter old woman who uses money to control people because you don't have anything else to offer. That one hits. I'll give him credit. But not the way it would have 6 weeks ago. Good luck with everything, Brian. I hang up. My hands are shaking again, but this time it's not from anger. It's from something that feels almost like grief. I just threatened my grandchildren's stability. I just listened to my daughter cry and hung up on her. For 3 days, I don't sleep right. I lie in bed imagining my 5-year-old grandson asking why they have to move. I picture my 8-year-old granddaughter packing her room, confused about why grandma isn't helping anymore. I think about Michelle, probably 3 months pregnant by now, based on her exhaustion and the way she wouldn't drink coffee, trying to figure out how to tell her kids they might lose their house. I check my bank account obsessively, staring at that $800 that's still there, calculating how many months of mortgage payments it represents. I could call right now and fix everything. One phone call, but every time I reach for my phone, I remember Brian's voice saying his parents think 2 months of help is enough. I remember Michelle choosing ski photos over Christmas morning. I remember 3 years of being the backup grandmother while they built their real life around his family. On Friday afternoon, my phone rings again. This time, Michelle's voice is completely different. Smaller. Broken in a way I haven't heard since she was young and something had gone really wrong. Mom? Just that one word, and I know everything has changed. Hi, sweetheart. I'm sorry. Her voice cracks. I'm so sorry. For missing Christmas. For taking you for granted. For letting Brian make me pull away from you. She's crying, but it's not the panicked crying from 3 days ago. This is deeper. Sadder. You were right to be hurt. You were right about all of it. Michelle. No, let me say this. The fight about the money, it made me see things clearly for the first time in years. Brian has been isolating me from you, always finding reasons to choose his family, making me feel guilty for wanting to include you in things. Her voice wavers, and I can hear her struggling to get the words out. I've been feeling so trapped and alone, even though I'm surrounded by his family all the time. But they're not my family, you know. They're polite to me, but I'm just Brian's wife to them. The mother of their grandchildren. I'm not a person. Something in my chest starts to crack. I want to go to counseling. I want to set boundaries with Brian. I want to make real changes if you'll please reconsider helping us. She takes a shaky breath. I've been looking into part-time work, reception jobs, retail, anything that works around the kids' schedules. I don't want us to be so dependent on everyone anymore. The crack in my chest widens. And Mom? There's something else. I just found out I'm pregnant with our third baby. My breath catches. I don't want this baby to grow up without knowing their grandmother. I don't want them to only know Brian's parents. I want them to know you. I want them to know the woman who taught third grade for 37 years and remembers every student's birthday and fixes her neighbor's problems without being asked. Now I'm crying too. Please, Mom. Please let us try again. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I'm willing to do the work to fix this if you'll give me the chance. I listen to my daughter's genuine tears and apologies. And for the first time in 6 weeks, I feel the first crack in my anger. Maybe I've been punishing Michelle for Brian's behavior. Maybe I've been so focused on being right that I forgot about being her mother. I stare out my kitchen window at my neighbor walking his dog again, the same routine as 3 days ago, while I sit here holding the power to rebuild my family or destroy it completely. The choice between revenge and reconciliation has never felt heavier. A week. That's how long it takes for hope to creep back in like some kind of persistent weed. I spend 7 days replaying Michelle's voice, that broken, genuine apology that felt so different from everything I'd heard before. The way she said she wanted to go to counseling, the way she admitted Brian had been isolating her, the pregnancy news that made my chest ache with the possibility of being part of something new instead of always being pushed out. So I do what any reasonable person would do. I make a list. It's a good list, written in my careful teacher handwriting on the back of an envelope. Family therapy, non-negotiable. Alternating holidays. Christmas with me this year, since they've had his parents for 3 straight years. Respectful communication. No more decisions made about my involvement without consulting me first. Financial transparency. I want to see how they're actually spending money if I'm contributing to basic needs. Reasonable boundaries. Adult expectations. The foundation for rebuilding something real instead of just resuming the old pattern, where I send money and get treated like an obligation. I script the conversation in my head while I drink my morning coffee. I'll be firm but loving, clear about my needs but open to compromise. I imagine Michelle's relief when she realizes I'm not abandoning her, just asking for basic respect. I picture family dinners where I'm actually invited, holidays that include me, maybe even helping with the new baby when it comes. By Thursday, I've convinced myself this could actually work, that Michelle's apology was the breakthrough we needed, that maybe Brian's desperation will make him more willing to change. On Friday afternoon, I call her back. Mom? Michelle's voice is breathless, like she's been running or crying or both. Oh, thank God. I've been hoping you'd call. I've been thinking about everything I said and I meant it, all of it. The relief in her voice makes my chest tight. This is my daughter, my only child, and she sounds so hopeful. I've been thinking too, sweetheart, about what you said, about counseling and making changes. Yes, I've already looked into therapists. There's one who takes our insurance and has evening appointments that could work around Brian's schedule. She sounds so eager, so ready to do the work. For the first time in weeks, I let myself believe this might actually happen. I'm willing to resume the mortgage payments, I say carefully, but things have to be different this time. I need to feel like family, not just a bank account. Of course, Mom. Absolutely. Whatever you need. I want us to do family counseling together. All of us, including Brian. I want to be included in major holidays. We can alternate or split them, but I can't be an afterthought anymore. And I need some acknowledgement that what I'm contributing matters. There's a pause, and I can hear voices in the background. Muffled conversation that makes my stomach clench slightly. That all sounds... Those are reasonable things to ask for. But her voice has changed. There's hesitation now, like she's reading from a script someone else wrote. Michelle, are you okay? I'm fine. Hold on a second. More muffled voices. Then footsteps, and when someone speaks again, it's not my daughter. Hello, Savannah? Brian's voice carries that same cold politeness I remember from Christmas, but there's something different underneath it, something tighter, more strained. I hear you're making demands now. I'm setting boundaries, there's a difference. Right, boundaries. He says the word like it tastes bad. Let me guess, therapy so you can have more ammunition to criticize our marriage. Holiday scheduling so you can control our family calendar. An acknowledgement of your financial contribution because apparently you need us to grovel now. His voice still has that calculated quality, but I can hear something else. A brittleness that wasn't there before, like he's working harder to maintain that control. I'm asking for basic respect, Brian. You know what's interesting? I've been thinking too. about family contributions and who really supports who. There's a pause, and when he continues, his voice gets tighter. My parents offered to help us. 2 months of mortgage payments while we figure things out, because apparently they think $800 a month for 3 years is excessive for people who should be standing on their own by now. Something shifts in his tone, a crack in that smooth confidence. They expressed some serious disappointment about our ongoing dependence on others, said it's time we learn to be self-sufficient adults instead of... He trails off, but I can fill in the blank. Instead of living off your mother-in-law's retirement money. Even they think this arrangement has gone on too long, he continues, and now I can hear the desperation he's trying to hide. Real independence means not relying on family handouts for basic needs. The irony is stunning. His parents, the ones with the big house and the spontaneous ski trips, think 2 months of help is plenty, but somehow I'm the problem for wanting respect after 3 years. So here's what we're going to do, Brian says, and his voice turns cruel again, though I can hear the effort it takes to maintain that tone. You have 2 choices. Resume the payments with no strings attached and stop being a martyr about it, or stay out of our lives completely and live with being the grandmother who let pride matter more than family. The calculated cruelty hits like it's supposed to, but underneath it I hear something else. Panic. Fear. The sound of someone whose world is falling apart and who's lashing out at the only target he can reach. Let me talk to my daughter. She's right here. But Savannah? She agrees with me. We're done jumping through your hoops. Footsteps again, then Michelle's voice, but it's different now. Strained. Mom, I'm here. Michelle, we need to talk about this. I know, and we can work out all the details later, but right now we just need to know you'll help us. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. I can hear Brian's voice in the background, low but insistent, saying something I can't make out. Just say yes, Michelle continues, and her voice is getting more desperate. Please, Mom, we'll figure everything else out after, but we need an answer now. More muffled conversation in the background. Michelle's voice becomes increasingly strained, like she's being pulled in different directions. The counseling can wait until we're more stable financially. And the holidays, we can discuss that later. But right now, we just need... She's not choosing me. The realization hits like cold water. She's not standing up to her husband or setting boundaries with his family or making real changes. She's just desperate and scared, caught between his ultimatums and my conditions, trying to say whatever will get her what she needs in this moment. The counseling won't happen. The holidays won't change. In 6 months, I'll be exactly where I was before, sending money to people who resent me for it while his parents get all the credit for being the real family. Her apologies were genuine, but they're not strong enough to stand up to him. They're not strong enough to change anything that actually matters. Something hardens in my chest, a door closing that I didn't even realize was still open. Michelle, Mom, please just say yes. We can work everything out, I promise. You have 30 days to figure something else out. Silence. Then Michelle's voice, small and shocked. What? 30 days? Talk to his parents about extending their 2 months of help. Talk to a bank about refinancing. Talk to a financial counselor about budgeting. But don't talk to me about money anymore. Mom, no, wait. I hope his parents' bigger house and pool are worth it. I hang up on the sound of my daughter sobbing my name. 10 months. That's how long it takes for someone's life to completely fall apart when the safety net disappears. My phone starts buzzing 2 months after I hang up on Michelle. I let it go to voicemail, and when I finally listen, her voice is sharp with anger. Mom, this is ridiculous. You're seriously going to let us lose our house because your feelings got hurt? Call me back so we can fix this like adults. I delete it and go water my newly planted tomatoes. The next voicemail comes 3 days later, and the anger is mixed with something else now, panic. Mom, please. We got a notice from the bank about missed payments. I know you're upset, but we need to talk. The kids are asking questions, and I don't know what to tell them. Delete. By March, the messages change completely. The anger is gone, replaced by something that sounds like begging. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about everything. About Christmas, about Brian being awful to you, about taking you for granted. Please just call me back. We can work this out. I listened to that one twice before deleting it. But I don't call back. The voicemails keep coming, scattered across weeks like breadcrumbs marking her path to desperation. Michelle's voice gets thinner, more strained. She mentions selling furniture online, taking cleaning jobs while 7 months pregnant, Brian working nights at some warehouse. His parents said they'd help for 2 months, but that's almost up, and they keep talking about how we need to stand on our own feet. Mom, I don't know what we're going to do. I'm sitting in my favorite chair with a cup of coffee that actually tastes good, because I bought the nice kind for the first time in 3 years. The roof repair guy finished yesterday. No more buckets catching drips. My bank account sits steady with that extra $800 every month, and it turns out that's enough to live on instead of just survive. I delete the message and book the Alaska cruise I canceled 3 years ago. In July, Brian calls. His voice is so different I almost don't recognize it. The smooth confidence is completely gone, replaced by something hollow and defeated. Savannah, I need to talk to you. I was wrong. About everything. I took you for granted and I was arrogant and I couldn't see what you were trying to give us because accepting help made me feel like such a failure as a man. He pauses and I can hear him struggling to find words. My parents keep talking about independence and not creating dependency, but the truth is they're disappointed in me. In us. They think 3 years of help from you was too much, that we should have figured this out by now. They offered 2 months and lectures about financial responsibility, but you gave us 3 years without making us feel like children. His voice cracks slightly. You were the stable one all along, and I couldn't see it because my pride was more important than my family. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't let my stupidity destroy my kids' lives. I listen to the whole thing, then I delete it and call the travel agent about shore excursions in Juneau. By September, the foreclosure is final. Michelle's voice in the voicemail sounds older somehow, worn down in a way that 3 years of her marriage couldn't quite manage, but 3 months of real financial pressure accomplished completely. We lost the house, Mom. We're moving into a 2-bedroom apartment across town. The kids have to change schools. Brian he's not handling this well. He's angry all the time now, blaming everyone else for what happened, including me for not being able to control your money. She laughs, but it's not a happy sound. He actually said that I should have been able to manipulate you better, that other wives know how to handle their mothers. I pause the message and stare out my kitchen window. My neighbor waves from his garden, where he's planting the roses I suggested after his wife died last winter. I wave back, then restart the voicemail. I think our marriage was broken long before you stopped helping, Mom. The money just kept everything floating while the real problems festered underneath. We never learned how to be partners because we never had to figure anything out together. That message I save. The final call comes in October, and Michelle's voice is different again. Quieter, but somehow stronger. Mom, I left Brian. Just like that. No build-up, no explanation, just fact. I'm living with my friend Sarah about 2 hours away. She has a spare room, and she says I can stay as long as I need to. The baby's due in December. Baby? Right. The pregnancy she was hiding at Christmas. The one that made her too tired for coffee and too scared to tell anyone. Brian became someone I didn't recognize under all that financial stress. Angry and bitter and mean. When I told him I was pregnant, he actually asked if I did it on purpose to trap him into staying with someone as pathetic as me. My coffee cup hits the table harder than I intended. That's when I realized I didn't want my daughter growing up thinking that's what marriage looks like. That's what love looks like. Daughter. She's having a girl. I understand now what you were trying to tell me about being valued rather than used. I spent so long trying to keep everyone happy that I forgot to ask if anyone was actually making me happy. She pauses, and when she continues, her voice is softer. I'm not calling to ask for money, Mom. I know I destroyed that. I'm calling because I miss you, because I want to try to rebuild something real between us, even if it has to be small and slow, even if it takes years to earn back your trust. Another pause. I had an ultrasound yesterday. The baby's healthy, and they confirmed it's a girl. We picked a name, Charlotte, after great-grandma Charlotte, the one who taught you to garden. I hoped maybe you'd want to know that. Charlotte, my grandmother's name, the woman who raised me after my parents died, who taught me that gardens grow better with patience than with force. I know I hurt you. I know I chose wrong over and over for 3 years. But if you ever want to try again, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere this time. The message ends, and I sit in my quiet house that smells like the lavender I planted in the spring. The cruise brochures are spread across my kitchen table next to the retirement community newsletter, where I circled the book club and the watercolor classes. For 10 months, I've been building a life that belongs entirely to me. But something about that message, about the name Charlotte, about my daughter finally understanding what it means to be valued, it makes my chest tight in a way I wasn't expecting. I pick up my phone. Michelle answers on the first ring. Mom. Her voice is hopeful and terrified and completely different from the woman who chose ski trips over Christmas morning. I got your message, I say. I meant every word. I know I can't undo the hurt, but I want to try to rebuild something honest between us, even if it's different than before. And here's the thing that 10 months of freedom has taught me. Being right doesn't always feel as good as you think it will. Michelle, I start, and then stop. Because what I'm about to say is going to hurt her, and for the first time in 3 years, that doesn't feel satisfying anymore. I've gotten used to my life without the constant worry about your family's approval. I've gotten used to having enough money for myself. I've gotten used to not waiting for phone calls that don't come and not being disappointed by holidays I'm not included in. She's quiet on the other end, but I can hear her breathing. What you put me through, the 3 years of being treated like an obligation while bankrolling your real life with his family, it changed something in me. Some things break too completely to fix. Mom, please. I'm sorry, sweetheart, I really am. I hope you build a beautiful life with Charlotte. I hope you find someone who values you the way you deserve. But I can't do this anymore. The silence stretches between us like years of missed birthdays and canceled holidays and phone calls that went to voicemail while his parents got Sunday dinners and ski trips. I understand, she finally whispers, and the defeat in her voice nearly breaks my resolve. I'm sorry I realized too late what I was losing. I hang up and sit in my house that finally feels peaceful instead of lonely. Outside, my neighbor's roses are blooming. The ones I suggested, the ones that are thriving because someone finally planted them in good soil. I've won exactly what I wanted. My freedom, my financial security, my self-respect, and I've lost everything that actually mattered. But sometimes protecting yourself becomes more important than any possibility of reconciliation. Sometimes the damage goes too deep, and the cost of forgiveness is higher than you're willing to pay. Even when the person asking for forgiveness finally deserves it,